Brisbane Camera Fair 2025. This could be my happy place. Ilford films have been very reliable, even considering the decline of film photography since the early 2000s. It is to Harman Technology's credit that they have supported photographers with a steady and reliable supply of film, even though the massive downturn of their business since about 2005. HP5 Plus was introduced into the market around 1989 and has been continually available ever since, remaining largely unchanged and sporting enhanced speeds over its previous HP5 non-Plus variant. It has seen a resurgence in popularity over recent years, due to it being very available and highly versatile. After the failures over the previous month with underdevelopment, and with failures the month before that with overdevelopment, I was concerned that I was headed for another development disaster. Fortunately, due to the popularity of HP5, I was able to find a few good sources of information as to the correct development regime. Now, this isn't a dead certainty for success, but it did fill me with hope that we were headed for not another development failure, or at least not one of the same magnitude. As I mentioned last time with Kentmere 400 speed films and I have a long and storied history. I happen to dislike grain build-up, particularly in the skies, and to give the film the best possible chances of success, I decided to load up 1982's finest, the Contax RTS2, with this film. But, as an extra precaution, I'm limiting myself to only lenses that I know to be good and that I happen to know that I like the look of. In this case, I will be using the 50mm f1.7, not the f1.4, as I think the rendering in the 1.7 is a little nicer. There isn't that much in it, but I tend to prefer it. The other lens is the 100mm f2.8 macro planner. If you've never used a macro lens as a good general purpose lens before, I can highly recommend it. While they often don't have the same wide open aperture, less than f2.0, as many of the other more standard counterparts, they happen to have a very flat plane of focus and are extremely sharp. This 100mm lens has made me dream of getting the 60mm macro planner, C, so I can use it as another standard perspective lens while getting this outstanding optical quality. Well, that's enough of me banging on about cameras and lenses. It's time to get out there and actually take some photos. So I decided to take a walk in an afternoon, and most of the photos in this video have come from this singular afternoon walk. One of the things I really wanted to inspect was how this film renders fine details, and I don't think I'm disappointed. Taking a look at this tree in full bloom with these detailed blossoms has come out very well. Something I was a little surprised by was using an unsharp mask filter digitally seems to work really well. I'm glad to see that it looks like the development time is finally correct on this one. Just down the road from the tree in full bloom was this delightful shopping trolley. Since I've been taking photos of houses in various states of disrepair, I'm reminded of jokes about putting a shopping trolley or shooting a gun off in the middle of the night to keep your property values down. So I decided to do my best shopping trolley glamour photography. This house has been on my list for a little while. It feels slightly disingenuous as it has a recently sold sign out the front of it and looks like it's going to be redeveloped soon. However, that could take some time, and it does look like it's been in quite a poor state for many years. The film seems to have very good latitude, and while it appears that some of the photos came out a little flat, This was very easy to tweak to a more standard contrast ratio. Slightly flattened eggs are preferable to overly contrasty ones, and it's easy to add in contrast rather than to attempt to take it away. Now this is some sort of odd tower near a car tunnel. I have no idea what it is or what it does, but it looks fantastic in the afternoon sun. The rendering of the middle grey is something I'm not used to, and I think it is fantastic in this particular example anyway. This photo alone is making me warm to the idea of using HP5 Plus more frequently. Then I finished up my walk with just a house that I like the look of, and then I wanted to take some macro shots with the 100mm lens that I was banging on about. This was for two reasons. The first is that macro is fun, and I don't do it enough. The second is my contacts had the dreaded mirror slip issue, and the mirror slid down and I needed to unstick it and then re-stick it in the correct position. The problem with that is that you are fiddling around with the internals and they can get out of alignment. So I was a little bit worried that my mirror may have junted out a bit, and I wanted to make sure I could still get perfect focus through the viewfinder. Now from this very close macro, I believe it is 1:1, I'm very happy to say that the mirror is in alignment. But this does unfortunately mean that any of my out of focus shots are all my own fault, and I can't blame on mirror alignment issues. Lastly is my coffee shop. I don't think this one is as good as some of the previous ones that I've done, but I did put it in a different location and it was raining, so I had the f1.7 lens all the way open, and it is just extremely shallow depth of field. It was the only option, as I think I was down to about a 30th of a second and wouldn't have been able to capture it with a lens with, say, an f2 or f2.8. And that's it, that's the film, that's HP5 Plus. This has been a fantastic result for so many reasons. I was surprised by the middle grey rendering, and I'm happy to have a correct development straight off the mark. There is still film grain in this film, and I don't think that in 120 or larger formats you will have any issues with that whatsoever. It would be entirely invisible. But in 135 you can still get grain build-up, particularly in the skies. It's not as bad as I seem to remember, but it's still not perfect. I'm not sure if this developer happens to leave a more pleasant rendering of that, or if I just did things really poorly as a youth. Either way, this has jumped up on my list of films that I'm interested in buying a bulk roll of, and it has given me an extra option for a higher speed film when I need it. There are still trade-offs to be made with how grainy it is and whether that speed is worth it, but I think at the very least it's worthwhile testing another roll of film or two to see if that works, particularly for the landscape work that I want to do with these types of films. And I think I'm going to call it there. Alright, we had such a great result with HP5. Looking forward to the next one. Let's see what we get. Ooh, an odd one this time. Alright, I'll see you next time.